Hey everyone, welcome back to Donghua Looks Back, where we relive the best moments of Chinese anime together. If you enjoy epic cultivation battles and deep story analysis, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and turn on the bell so you never miss a new episode review. When Zi Ling learned that Han Li had become a partner with Nang Dongwen as a double holiday companion, she looked at the ordinary man in front of her, and he would fit the expression. Han Li and Zi Ling had lost track of the route leading to the demon abyss before the ghost arrived. What happened? Your flying squirrel actually went out of control. Standing in a place covered with a thick layer of ice in the glacial area, Han Li raised his hand, looking at the blood-red glow that reappeared in the sky. With a gloomy expression, he said to the nearby Zi Ling, and not far behind him, a giant ice phoenix over 20 feet wide was glaringly present. Han Li had just passed through this ice phoenix, and once again entered the inner valley. While the surroundings were covered in ice and snow, the biting cold wind howled fiercely, but Han Li stood there, in thin clothing, completely motionless, seemingly indifferent to the cold wind. I don't know if my flying squirrel is still fine outside, but as soon as it came out of the ice crevice, it suddenly went mad. Fortunately, I had put it away early, otherwise, who knows what kind of trouble would have happened. Now even in this freezing environment, it still looks extremely violent. Zilinde Mei had a tightly locked yet bold and confused expression. Han Li pondered for a moment. Suddenly, she slapped her storage bag with one hand. A small swarm of golden insects burst out from the bag. Then, they transformed into a small cloud of insects in the air. They hovered motionless above Han Li's head. Han Li secretly urged them. This small group of insects flew back to the storage bag with ease. They showed no signs of losing control. Pan and I stroked his chin. His gaze flickered uncertainly, but he quickly slapped another storage bag. A beam of black light shot out from the bag. After a swirl, it landed in front of Han Li at the tree's edge. It had a smooth appearance. A small black monkey, about a few inches in size, appeared before him. It was a soul-retrieving beast. At that moment, it yawned. It blinked its eyes. It looked at Han Li with a somewhat dazed expression. It seemed as if it had just woken up. Han Li looked at this beast for a moment. Then, with a blank expression, she unleashed a wave of azure mist. After a moment, the clear light flashed by. The soul-retrieving beast vanished without a trace. Your flying squirrel has lost control. Regardless of the reason, the trace of the soul-devouring beast is completely gone. Your flying squirrel has gone out of control. Regardless of the reason, we can only rely on ourselves to find the ghost gate. Fortunately, we've entered the inner valley. We shouldn't be far from them. I'll use my powers to search for a bit. Let's see if I can find any traces of them. For now, please help me guard. After pondering for a moment, Han Li made a decision in his heart. He said to Lin, the golden insect and the soul-collecting beast have shown no abnormalities in the inner valley. This eased his mind somewhat. After all, one is an ancient miraculous insect, and the other is a mutated ferocious beast. Naturally, they are very different from ordinary spirit beasts, as if something he had long coveted had been taken away by someone else. Looking at Han Li's face shimmering in the clear light, the feeling of being taken away by someone else. Looking at Han Li's face shimmering in the clear light, Zilin's expression was somewhat unsettled. Thoughts began to swirl chaotically in her mind. Han Li, who was meditating, naturally had no idea what Zi Ling was thinking. However, he had already really pushed her large-eyed charm to the extreme, forcefully transformed her divine stone into thousands of fragments of divine consciousness, besides a few fragments left on her to protect her from unexpected dangers. The remaining fragments quickly caught up with each golden devouring bug and temporarily attached themselves to them, spreading their wings and dispersing in all directions. Remember the wet wipe boog size. No need to sense any modified or anymore, directly starting to search bit by bit for what might be the next marker's location. Naturally, among them, some steps encountered spatial rifts and were swallowed up, or were unable to return due to a fixed line of sight. However, Han Li's fragments of consciousness were completely formless, and were also in a state of revival. Upon seeing the situation was not good, she quickly abandoned her stepfather's golden pet, allowing the fragments to return to Han Li's side. However, even so, there were still over 10 fragments that could not escape in time, getting trapped or destroyed. Faced with such a situation, Han Li decisively gave up the connection to these fragments, to avoid implicating lightly. With a playful smile, he said, from what I know of Brother Han, if he wasn't completely confident about the danger, he would never take the risk. It seems that Taoist Han must have some secret technique to avoid those invisible spatial cracks. In that case, this little girl will respectfully obey. After Zi Ling confirmed, the plan circulated for a moment. Indeed, Yanren's clear filial piety. Then, a white shadow flickered. He stood up on the Yufeng carriage. Han Li was a bit surprised and forgot to give you a glance. But soon, without saying a word, she also flew into the carriage. In an instant, under Han Li's command, the Yufeng carriage transformed into a streak of white and gold. It flew through the air. Clearly, Huan Li's deduction was correct. After tightly pursuing for a little over half a day, near a stretch of endless desolate land, Han and I finally caught up with the ghostly figures. Meanwhile, the elder with the surname Zhu and others were in a state of chaos due to a mistake made by a disciple of the ghostly gate. This triggered an ancient minor restriction nearby. They were frantically busy with self-rescue, with Han Li's caution and the divine timing fully activated. Naturally, they did not. Then, after deviating from the route just now, it was surprising that no hidden ancient stillness was triggered. This was indeed good luck for him. Han Li thought this in his heart, but did not show it on his face. His expression now was just his eyes, slightly squinting at the peculiar mountain in the distance, remaining silent. The direction indicated by the bird's beak should be where the last mark is located. Han Shang, are we not setting off yet? Should we destroy this mountain and then leave? Zi Ling waited for a while, and seeing Han Li lost in thought, anxiously suggested what Zhao Na had said on the jade slip. The last mark should be in the desert, and it should be within 1,000 miles of this mountain peak. Am I wrong? Han Li suddenly asked. That's right. Han Shang means. Zi Ling began to understand a bit. It's very simple. This is how we deal with a mountain wind. As long as the other party sees the heart being destroyed by this wind, they will naturally know that this is where the next marker is located, and the last marker is in the desert area, such an obvious place. They just need to spend a little more time to find it nearby. It's just like how we were able to find our way here. The only way to delay them a bit longer is to set up another affliction to cover this mountain peak, and see if we can confuse them. Let the ghost spirit gate miss this marker, Han Li said calmly. What Han Li said does make some simmering with various spiritual lights appeared in his hands. Han Li casually handed the device to the young woman. It was the master, Yin Yue, who took the array tool. She readily agreed. At this moment, Han Li glanced at the nearby flying bird mountain. A cold light flashed in his eyes. Suddenly, he rubbed his hands together. Then he shook one hand. A wave of green sword energy from the jade staff shot out like a dragon from his palm. After circling the mountain once, it let out a long cry and flew back. In an instant, it disappeared into Han Li's body. Suddenly, a loud cry came from the flying bird mountain. It was seen that the bird-like hands and wings of this mountain collapsed in an instant. The mountain suddenly looked like an ordinary peak, seemingly no different from any other. Lin watched in astonishment, although he knew that Han Li's current powers were not something he could easily guess. With simple embellishments, the fundamental treasure had not yet appeared. Just relying on the sword energy could create such great power out of thin air? This woman was truly taken aback, although she often heard people say that Han Li aspired to the new pinnacle of cultivation. Leda was almost a being below the 3 major cultivations. However, this spirit had always been somewhat skeptical, but this spirit actually had some doubts. After all, Han Li used to be just like him, accepting orders for modifications. How long has it been since he advanced? It's surprising that he can have such a great reputation immediately. This is truly hard for Zi Ling to believe. He originally thought Han Li was just doing more work, that he used some clever tricks to achieve such a big reputation by sheer luck. Just as Zi Ling was secretly pondering this, the remaining wishes had already set up the array tools. They flew to a mountain peak that had almost been cut off at one small section. They began to arrange the formation. The operation was very quick. In the time it takes to eat a meal, they completed the setup of 2 sets of formations. Suddenly, a series of white mist slowly rose, covering most of the wind. Only the top part remained exposed. After finishing all this, the operator suddenly transformed into a ball of fluorescence, soaring into the air above the mountain peak. Then, facing the mountain below, he suddenly opened his mouth. A large amount of pink mist surged out. Once this mist was released, it immediately became invisible. The mist continued to spew from his mouth. Before long, an astonishing scene appeared. The entire mountain peak suddenly twisted and deformed. The mountain peak suddenly vanished without a trace. In its place, a dense forest appeared on the spot. Han Li saw this, and nodded in satisfaction. Unbeknownst to them, hundreds of Zhang below in the hall, Marquis Nanman and Lu Wang, were seated in a corner of the hall, commanding their magical treasures to launch fierce attacks. The light had shrunk to a thin layer, yet it shone even more dazzlingly. The Buddhist scriptures on the light had transformed from the initial struggle of power to the current size of a fist, with silver runes continuously flowing on the surface of the light, appearing exceptionally solemn. Outside the golden shield, a misty white beehive, along with a golden and crimson blue ice python, and a green soul ring, were relentlessly attacking the surface of the light. Each attack caused the light to tremble slightly, with spiritual light flickering wildly. Marquis Nan Long and Lu Zun had pale expressions at this moment, devoid of any color. This was hardly surprising, as Ren Shen was consuming mana day and night without pause. Without hesitation, they overdraw their resources to urge the treasure. It has turned into such a state. They have long been cursing this little illusionary golden diamond formation in their hearts. The 2 perverts. In order to break through this Buddha sex formation, they can be said to be fighting desperately, although both of them are somewhat drained now. The diamond shield has reached its limit. Clearly, it could be breached at any moment. This made the 2 of them, who were secretly crying out in distress, finally manage to hold on through gritted teeth. Amidst the booming sounds of explosive attacks, it was unknown how much time had passed. Suddenly, a deafening sound erupted. Immediately, the voice of the old man, filled with extreme joy, came loudly. It's broken. It's broken. Finally, their efforts were not in vain. The old man, who had been sitting cross-legged, suddenly stood up, joyfully shouting towards the vicinity of the shared boat. The golden light that had obstructed them for the past 2 days was now completely gone. The faintly flickering wrinkles on the surrounding walls also instantly vanished. The southern python monkey, sitting in another corner, looked extremely unwell, but his eyes similarly showed an unusually excited expression. Their gazes, subsequently, they both inadvertently fell upon the precious medicine that had lost its protection. It was completely exposed to the eyes of the two, along with treasures like the yuan wave. Even though these two were cunning and shrewd, their hearts suddenly raced. The South Bear monkey and the old man glanced at the shared table. Their gazes instinctively met. At the same time, they saw deep concern in each other's eyes, even though they had some past interactions. In the face of such easily attainable treasures, all that had long since dissipated. After a moment of silence, the old man chuckled and spoke first, saying, "Friend Nan Long, we both know what we are thinking. We are all well aware of it. Although my cultivation level may have slightly surpassed you earlier, but brother Nan Long, you were severely injured once in the Mulan grassland, so now our cultivation levels are about even. With so many precious medicines here, let's not entertain any other thoughts. It's best to evaluate them honestly, otherwise, we might end up in a mutually destructive situation." What Brother Lu said is indeed true. This monkey thinks the same. But, if you want us to split the treasures, I only want that round wave. The rest belongs to Brother Lu. How difficult it is to gather intentions. The monkey glanced sideways. The eye-catching round wave on the offering table. Yet it returned to the round wave so well. Let's divide it this way. I only wish to advance my cultivation further now, and extend my lifespan a bit more. These external possessions are not what I value much. The old man with the Lu temperament's expression slightly changed, but after a moment of thought, he surprisingly agreed right away. The old man from Nanlong was initially taken aback, but then he felt a surge of joy in his heart. He originally thought it would take great effort to persuade the other party to give up this treasure. He didn't expect the old man to let go so easily. However, out of caution, he carefully observed the old man several times, but Lu Wei's expression remained calm, without a hint of unusual color appearing. At this moment, it even seemed like he noticed the grudge of Nanlong. Suddenly, he smiled and said, "What's this? Brother Nanlong, have you perhaps changed your mind, planning to give this treasure to me?" Nanlong was suddenly taken aback, his gaze flickering a few times. For a moment, he didn't respond to this. After a while, the old man from Nanlong, not noticing anything amiss, remained silent. Finally, I managed to crack a joke. With a smile on his face, Louis returned to Brother Lu, joking, "Since you say so, my friend, then I won't hold back. Let's both take action together. You take the 3 treasures and jade talismans from the first wave, and I'll take care of this wave. Then we'll see how to score the spirit." Just because of the words of the male monkey, the old man Lu Zun showed no hesitation at all. He readily agreed. The male monkey nodded in satisfaction. The two of them almost acted simultaneously. The old man waved his elegant robe. With a flick on the table, a vast expanse of white appeared. The rosy light shot directly at the 3 swords. The talismans and several jade slips were swept away. Meanwhile, the male monkey carefully opened his mouth. A ball of golden light burst forth. It shot towards the round wave. Everything went very smoothly. Under the sweep of the old man's white light, the treasures and jade talismans offered no resistance at all. They were swept into the wave. Afterwards, the ball of golden light illuminated the round wave. Then it wrapped around and flew towards the male monkey. When the round wave gently floated into the male monkey's hands, he couldn't help but show a look of joy. The old man across the way glanced down at the 3 treasures in his hand. With a completely expressionless face, he looked at the slight gap covered in his hand, the missing round wave. Suddenly, the smile on Nan Long Hu's face vanished. He flipped his palm over and struck the round wave with lightning speed. Instantly, a yellowish mist was captured and stuck to it. "Brother Nan Long, what do you mean by this?" The Lu surname elder's face changed dramatically upon seeing this. He couldn't help but ask in shock and anger. "What do you mean? Brother, do you really think I can't see that your 3 treasures and the jade floating device are ancient artifacts used to suppress the round wave? Although I don't know what exactly is in the wave. This original wave is definitely a top-notch item that has been restricted in the ancient castle. It must be something extraordinary. However, if Brother Lu expects me to rashly open this wave, I'm afraid you will be greatly disappointed. Without absolute certainty, I, this monkey, will not do such a thing." At this moment, Nan Longho spoke with a strange expression, while continuously slapping his palm. In one breath, he stuck another 5 or 6 differently colored captures onto the round wave. Heh, I didn't expect that my moment of humility would actually lead to a misunderstanding by Brother Nan Long. However, I don't want to explain anything. We in Jiangling need to divide it. Or let's just leave this place. Although I don't know why. Lu does not wish to stay here any longer. The old man with the surname Lu's expression returned to normal in an instant. He said lightly, "HMPH, just treat the inflammation of the breast. Then we can share the heavenly round fruit that can prolong life. The remaining spiritual herbs can be chosen one by one." Nan Laoho sneered and said. Then one hand dragged the round wave, while the other hand unceremoniously reached for a few heavenly round fruits on the offering table. It reached out into the void. Suddenly, a large golden hand appeared above the offering table. Then it scooped down. Lu Wang's expression darkened. He didn't care to respond. With a wave of his hand, A white light hand also materialized on the offering table. It reached for the purple spiritual mushroom next to the heavenly round fruit. Two muffled sounds echoed. The heavenly round fruit and the purple spiritual mushroom on the offering table flashed with green light. Suddenly, they disintegrated and became blurry. The two light hands grabbed nothing but air. Then the offering table shone brightly. Two empty hands grabbed nothing. Then the offering table shone with radiant light. All the medicinal herbs and fruits in the forest are smooth, just like bubbles, dispersing and disappearing without a trace. The southern long Marquis and the old man saw this scene, instantly left them dumbfounded. At this moment, the round wave held in the southern long Marquis's hand underwent a change. The captive stuck on the round wave suddenly flashed with brilliance several times. At the same time, it naturally rose. Several pieces of fortune and prosperity turned to ashes under the pitch-black demonic fire, just as the spiritual medicine vanished without a trace. The extremely angry southern long monkey also sensed it. Slightly raising his hand, he saw the situation of holding the round wave. His face turned extremely pale. Without thinking, his other hand flashed with golden light. A somewhat tattered golden captive appeared between his fingers. He slammed it hard onto the original wave, but it was obviously a bit too late. The round wave, which was tightly sealed by bees, in a loud explosion, in an instant, the lid shot up into the sky. Then a murky light, impossible to see through, burst forth from the wave. At such a close distance, the southern long Marquis simply couldn't dodge in time. The golden talisman in his other hand was still several inches away from the original wave. Then Wu Guang shot directly at the face of the southern duke. The first flash disappeared without a trace. A piercingly tragic scream came from the mouth of the southern duke. With a slap, he smashed the round wave in his hand violently against the wall. Jin Fu also inexplicably fell from his fingers. Then, holding his head with both hands, he half knelt on the ground. His entire face began to twist and contort. The old man who had taken over nearby saw this scene. Believing in his extensive experience, his expression immediately became serious as he instructed his students. Without a second thought, he pulled the southern duke back a bit. Two blue long swords flew out from his body. They fiercely slashed towards the seemingly immobile male monkey, not holding back at all. But at that moment, the male monkey suddenly let out a low roar. He raised his head, and a thick layer of black energy enveloped his face. His pair of eyes turned completely silver-white, staring straight at the blue light shooting towards him, without any expression at all. Just as Lan Jie was about to flash past him, the male monkey suddenly became fierce. A metallic clash sounded. The two blue doves were unexpectedly deflected by his arm, which moved like lightning, sending them flying away. But the embroidered rope on the arm shattered into pieces under the strike of the blue pigeon. The fragments floated down like scattered leaves. This arm was completely exposed. The old man, Lu Zun, couldn't help but flinch at the sight of this arm. His eyes involuntarily twitched. He saw that the arm had inexplicably turned dark and shiny. It was covered in long, thick, purplish red veins. The palm had become extremely rough. Black mist swirled around it, as if it had turned into a ghostly claw. Yet, this bizarre-looking arm managed to block the strikes from the blue pigeon, without sustaining any damage. The old man's heart sank, because of the southern long Marquis, the mid-stage divine food. It was hard to believe that such a quick possession could occur, and cause the body to mutate. This was truly unbelievable. What exactly was that dark light? It was definitely not an ordinary evil spirit. Just thinking about this, the old man felt a surge of fear and suddenly ran away. One hand revealed that white magic flag. In the other hand, a bit of fiery red gauze appeared. The gauze was instantly thrown out by the old man. Immediately, a layer of reddish light suddenly emerged. A layer of red light suddenly appeared in front of the old man. Lu Wang felt somewhat reassured. From his understanding, as long as the opponent belonged to the category of evil spirits, then this vast killing force could withstand any sinister attack created by demons. The southern fierce monkey had already unsteadily stood up. He did not immediately attack them. Instead, he stretched out his hands to look at them, then carefully examined himself. His body changed. Suddenly, he raised his hand and let out a strange laugh. Brother, after all these years, my true self has finally emerged. This time, let's see who can stop the arrival of the Holy Ancestor. This generation seems destined to belong to our Holy Realm. Holy Ancestor, Holy Realm. Upon hearing these unfamiliar words, although he did not understand what was happening, his heart grew even colder. With a turn of his gaze, the old man discreetly wrote, glancing towards the entrance of the hall, remembering the several magical formations set at the bottom of the pond. The great escape of the essence. Suddenly, without any warning, a brilliant white light erupted from his body, transforming into a white red glow. On the body, the white light shone brightly and transformed into a white red glow. Moving towards the entrance, it gradually fades away. Such a short distance to perform the escape technique. Naturally, in an instant, it flew there. It seemed about to rush into the passage in one breath. Just as the old man felt secretly pleased, a shadow suddenly flickered in front of him. Something flashed before his eyes. A loud bang suddenly erupted. The old man only felt a tremendous force coming from the protective Yuanyang sand. Then, his flying body was struck down by this force that he could not resist. His entire being was like a rag doll, violently slammed against the opposite stone wall. He was embedded several feet deep into the wall, although there was protective spiritual light. The old man still felt his back tremble, becoming numb. He felt completely senseless, as if his whole body had temporarily lost control. At that moment, he finally saw clearly that the southern Long Marquis had blocked the entrance at some point. Slowly retracting a dark fist, he looked at him with a cold smile. The old man, Lu Xun, suddenly turned pale and bloodless. Indeed. Although this demonic body is not as good as my original form, it can withstand a blow from me without dying. But it could strike me once without killing me. It seems you are not some DJ embellishment. Let's take a look at your bloodstains first, the Southern Duke said ominously. One could see the darkness on his face. The aura was 3 times thicker than before, and a pair of silver-white eyes were extremely cold. This person stared at the old man without blinking. The old man felt a chill in his heart. After the Southern Duke finished speaking, with a movement of his body, a series of phantom afterimages appeared. He lunged at the old man. He seemed unwilling to waste any words. Fortunately, the old man was so scared that his soul almost flew away. He wanted to escape from the stone wall, but there was simply no time. The opponent's movements were just as fast. In almost an instant, he was right in front of him, like a ghost, and a claw wrapped in black energy was already aimed at the old man's head, plunging down. The old man was in great danger. He had no choice but to brace himself. A white light flashed all over his body. He poured all his magical power into the fiery red gauze in one go. Suddenly, the layer of fiery red light surged up half a foot high. That black claw, under the emotionless gaze of the southern Long Marquis, it fiercely thrust down. A strange sound from Zi Ling came. The light was dazzling and blinding. In the old man's anxious state, the ghostly claws delved deeper into the light pool after the snow finally came to a stop. The old man let out a long sigh of relief upon seeing this. The color returned slightly to his face. The spiritual light on him flickered. He was about to summon the protective spiritual light to break through from these iron-hard stone walls. The male long monkey across slightly curled a corner of his mouth, revealing a hint of mockery. A loud bang echoed. The southern Long Marquis waved his other arm, slamming it into the red light mist. The old man had just released the external spiritual light when, in an instant, for some reason, it immediately dissipated by more than half. The old man was momentarily stunned, not yet understanding the opponent's intention to use. The male fierce monkey suddenly yanked back his arm and struck down with a lightning-fast punch. The light wood trembled again. The remaining protective spiritual light on the old man was also completely dispersed under this opportunity. Cleanly, at the same time, his body sank. He fell back into the stone wall tree village again. This is bad, Lu Crossing. The old man, upon seeing this scene, finally remembered something. His expression changed drastically. He hurriedly shook the white in his hand, wanting to send this treasure away. However, the male fierce monkey swung both fists, calmly smashing down one punch after another. He didn't give the old man a chance to send out the at all. Each punch precisely disrupted the half of the spiritual energy the old man had just infused into it. It was forcibly dissipated. Moreover, it was dissipating faster and faster. The force was growing stronger. A thunderous sound echoed continuously. Under the old man's pressure, he wanted to cast other secret techniques. But similarly, as soon as his magical power was raised halfway, it was dispersed. He couldn't gather any magical power at all. In this way, Lu Wei, despite having immense magical power and abilities, was trapped in the stone wall, unable to exert even a bit of power. He could only watch helplessly as the deep red light gradually thinned and faded away. His face revealed a look of despair. The old man with the surname Lu looked terrifyingly pale. In Henan, Long Hu, the silver-eyed gaze met coldly for a moment. A shiver ran down his spine. Without a doubt, if that's the case, in the end, he would definitely end up with the treasure shattered, and his body crushed into a meat paste. Thinking of this, the old man gritted his teeth. Suddenly, he shouted loudly. A white light flickered above his head. A figure resembling the old man suddenly appeared above him. This figure looked somewhat panicked, but held tightly onto a blue misty little treasure. Almost simultaneously, the grand sand castle's light curtain emitted a sound of shattering. The last trace of hesitation from the figure vanished without a trace. He suddenly fell to the ground. The figure instantly disappeared from the spot. The next moment, he appeared directly at the entrance. The reporter foresaw this figure fleeing into the passage to escape. But just at that moment, a bizarre scene unfolded. The southern monkey was still facing the entrance, seemingly not yet reacting. However, the robe on his back suddenly burst open, leaving Beiji exposed, and offered a card with a blood-cursed gate. An identical ghost face emerged. Firmly closed eyes revealed it clearly. The competition was truly one of a kind. This ghost face suddenly opened wide. Its eyes revealed the same silvery white eyeballs. At the same time, a purple shadow flickered, as if something was spewing out from its mouth. This was due to the old man. Just as he was about to throw out what was splattered in his arms, he was to fly up the mountain with this life spell. The treasure merging into one desperately fled. But it seemed he heard some whine sound, then felt a heat in his brain. Something shot out from between his brows, and extended a long segment out. The reason? He just stared blankly at the long, pointed object. Moments later, a sharp scream was emitted. Then he instantly seemed to lose all his strength, and fell down from the air, landing on the ground, motionless. At this time, if there were other cultivators nearby, they would see a purple, long object about the thickness of a thumb. extending from the ghost face's mouth, all the way to the back of the vowel's head, piercing through the front of its plum rain. It continued to extend. It appeared to be the ghost face's tongue, but such a long time is indeed strange. The ghostly face saw Yuan Ying fall to the ground, competing for your smile. The long tongue retracted, the mouth opened wide. Quietly, he drew the old man's essence into his mouth. After chewing a few times, he swallowed it directly. Then the ghostly face finally revealed a satisfied expression and slowly closed his eyes. At this moment, the southern long mark was finally turned around. With a blank expression, he glanced at the blue sword that had lost its master. A trace of power flickered. He grabbed it with his other hand. In one motion, he pulled out the heart of the old man Luzon, then gently squeezed it. The heart transformed into a dance of blood in the sky. The vitality of this flesh body was severed. After doing all this, the southern long monkey, expressionless, swept a glance. This place then turned into a mass of black gas. It flew away into the passage. Moments later, he appeared at the bottom of the water pool. He raised his hand to look at several formations without a host. A cold smile appeared on his face. He directly flew up towards the surface of the water pool. After a cup of tea's time, the southern naked Marquis's figure appeared on a certain stone mountain, floating in the high sky above this mountain, surrounded by over 100 tents. Floating above this mountain at a height of over 100 tents. Looking around, he flew to such a height. Naturally, it triggered the stillness of the abyss of despair. Countless blood-red lightning bolts continuously fell from the sky, all aimed at this person. However, these lightning bolts had not yet approached Nan Long. Before Ho Sheng could react, everything fell silent. A bolt of lightning curved and passed by, allowing him to remain unscathed amidst the thunder and lightning. Steady as a mountain. Warmly, Ho glanced at the surroundings. After a long while, he finally discerned the direction. He immediately looked in a certain direction. His eyes narrowed slightly. A silver light flickered uncertainly in his eyes. Otherwise, his figure transformed into a wisp of black mist, breaking through the air to absorb. Soon, he disappeared without a trace on the horizon.